AFC East, right?
Yep, and we're live, AFC East. Right on time, Richard. This will be an interesting one, and I don't think Grant's going to join us. It's a little different than a lot of the other divisions that we've done in that there's, a lot of talent on, not a lot on a couple of the teams.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, outside of New England, how do you see it all falling? I mean, especially now with, I imagine we're all going to be the same on this one.
Well, as far as like who's like where everything's going to lie out, or
Yep.
I mean, I would have said Dolphins are in the best position, but then Tannehill goes out and how much better is Jay Cutler or worse than Tannehill? They're actually kind of different quarterbacks. I mean, Tannehill's kind of a check down. He can move around a little bit. Cutler, I don't know if you want to say gunslinger, but I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the Jets suck. Jets, I think, are the worst team in the league.
Yeah, they're hoping that they get Sam Darnold. That's their hope.
They're in the Sam Darnold sweepstakes right now. They are so bad. Their best skill player just got injured.
Yeah, their best skill player. Their offensive line isn't that great. Their defense got old fast.
Mm-hmm. Well, other than the defensive line is pretty good.
Yeah, the defensive line but I mean, they're still not as terrifying as they were a few years ago when they were, young and in their prime, I guess. It doesn't seem like they're scaring nearly as many people, and their secondary is not nearly what it was, which I haven't heard anything. Has he signed anywhere this offseason? I know he got in trouble early on and he got cut. Which I would still think,
didn't he?
He did, but I always envisioned him switching over to safety, kind of like Charles Woodson later in his career.
Well, Charles Woodson was bigger though, and he kind of came down and played a strong safety, whereas he'd probably have to play a free safety.
Yeah, I just think he was so talented and he was so good at, he just had those instincts that you can't really teach. And I feel like somebody would have some value. You could find a spot, whether he's a slot corner or a free safety or something along those lines. And I imagine that his contract size would be substantially less at this point, that you could get him for pennies on the dollar. But besides that, their secondaries.
If he's lost a step though, then he's lost, and then he's.
He didn't have that.
Not much you can do at that point,
You're not asking him to play bumping on an island like you were early on in his career. He's still got to be better than a lot of these. There's a lot of undrafted guys that are getting playing time in the NFL. Some of these slot corners and. So I don't know. I'm interested to see that. I thought he still had a couple of years left in the tank, just not. He's obviously not going to be Revis Island anymore, but we'll see. Maybe somebody will pick him up when they get a couple injuries.
I mean, they could, but it is one of those cases where he just got bad really quickly. I mean, quarterback rating when he was targeted last season was almost 92.
That's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad. Like the rest of his career was 60.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know. I think, and it's not like the Jets are like, oh yeah, if he was any good, he'd probably still be on the Jets.
Yeah.
But,
well, they were cutting him. His contract was way too, it was outrageous. And so,
I don't know. It's just, there's a reason why nobody wants him right now. Someone, not to go sideways, but why is it Mario Williams? I'd rather have Mario Williams than Darrelle Revis.
Mario Williams, didn't he have one sack last year?
He was injured.
Well, I still feel like even the year before that, when he was in Buffalo, his last year, he had a couple of sacks.
I'm just saying, he's more likely to be a serviceable guy because his position is not quite as much, athleticism. You do need athleticism, but it's like if you lose,
he He could be a Chris Long type guy for the Patriots.
If you lose 10% of your athleticism as a cornerback, you're kind of screwed. But
whereas, Mark Williams will never be an every down player, but he could be coming on third
situational
down.
pass rusher, and
exactly
whatever. But Jets suck. Anun was gone.
So you have
someone named Robbie Anderson is going to be their number one wide receiver. I don't know who that is.
Last year, he actually played really well at the end of the year. He was
a tall, skinny guy, apparently.
He's pretty fast. And McCown, we'll see who's playing QB. But yeah, they got to throw the ball to someone. Robbie Anderson. We're going to be talking about Austin Seforth Jenkins later on, unfortunately, because there's about no one else on that team.
I think the only Robbie Anderson, it sounds like, is someone you might want, but
he was on my sleeper list. Honestly, I was preparing for this, thinking.
But now it's not even a sleeper. You're just like,
exactly.
Well,
yep.
Like he's going to be drafted in the mid rounds.
He's a number one option at wide receiver on it.
Yeah, but what was I going to say? I think anyone else other than me, because I was going to say Bilal Powell and Matt Forte. I don't know. Have you heard who's winning that job yet?
Everything I've been reading, it's Powell has been the number one guy.
Yeah, it looks like Bilal Powell's ADP's 6th round, Forte's 10th round.
Yeah.
I think those guys are both draftable. Anyone else, I would personally be in a wait and see situation. I wouldn't draft any of them. I would just one of these guys might start to produce something, and you pick them up when you're desperate and have injuries on a bye week or something. But other than that, I think Robbie Anderson and Bilal Powell is it, pretty much. At least that's my opinion.
Literally the only two Jets I would touch is Powell and Robbie Anderson.
Yeah. Dolphins, Jarvis Landry, I don't know. The thing, a lot of Jarvis Landry's value was, one, he always got you could write him down for 10 catches a game almost, 8 to 12 catches every game. And that's because Tannehill, it was like Tannehill's safety blanket. When Tannehill got scared, he would just throw it to Landry. And a lot of times it's for 1 yard. But, if you have Jarvis Landry and team 0.5 PPR like this, half point. You're cool with it. It's like a 10-yard catch, and it's like, okay, I'm fine with it, But I don't know
now,
if that's what's his face now.
Cutler. Yeah, because Cutler in every other team he's always had. He's mostly thrown to his outside wide receivers. That's been his primary guys. And they've done well in a lot of seasons with. He had a couple of really good seasons with Brandon Marshall, and then Alshon Jeffrey had a couple of really good seasons with him as well. Playing that X wide receiver that out wide.
So Parker might be Parker's, but what's his ADP right now?
Not that great, but he might be exactly
into the 8th round right now.
Which that's gone up probably. It used to be, I feel like, double digits. He's a little. I would be nervous about taking him in the 8th round.
If you're taking the 8th round, you're probably taking him as your 4th wide receiver, maybe.
Yeah,
probably.
It depends, but around 3rd or 4th.
If you went quarterback early or tight end early, then you might not be.
And if you went both early, then it would be wide receiver 2 or 3, and that's 2.
Yeah, but if you're doing both earlier, we call stupid.
Oh, that's about half our league.
I know, it's crazy.
Last year, once Aaron Rodgers, without question, he's going to go maybe 1st round. Let's not.
He's not getting past the 2nd round.
He's not getting past the 2nd round.
We should have a podcast where we the day before the draft is we sit here. Because are you coming into town?
Yeah, I'll be there.
And Grant is too, right?
Yeah, I think so. Unless we scared him away.
Do it in person where we try to make predictions of what other people are going to do in the draft.
I know. I want to know the draft order because that'll help me. I know Shane won't let Aaron Rodgers fall past the 2nd round. So where does Shane draft?
No.
Lance. If Lance has the end of the 1st round, he might take him. He'll take him either the early 2nd or the end of the 1st.
The thing is, Shane is drafting mid 2nd round, right? Amari Cooper and Aaron Rodgers are on the table. Who does he take?
That's tough.
I think he takes Cooper.
Yeah, I think he would too. He's a pretty big homer for Cooper.
And then he would try to get Lynch in the third round.
He would take Lynch in the third round. If Aaron Rodgers is gone, he would take Rodgers third, which yeah.
No, but Andy is taking Rodgers in the second round, or Kyle or something like that is taking Rodgers.
Yeah, we'll see. Somebody will take him early without question, and then Andy will probably take Brady soon after that.
And then he'll take Russell
Chad,
Wilson.
Remember, don't ever forget. Don't overestimate Chad. Remember, he drafted Andrew Luck at number 1.
Yeah, that was great because I remember I was like, where was I? I was like third or something, and that meant that Agent Peter, because like what's his name, Grant was next, and then so Agent Peterson fell to me.
No, I think I was next. That was the year you drafted right after me or before me, one of the two, right? We were right next to each other.
Yes, and
great year.
That sucked. You took.
That's what I'm afraid of this year. With you picking, I mean, if there's only 2 picks left and we're right next to each other again.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think it messes it up a little bit with the keepers leaving.
Yeah.
Who's gonna pick where? Because it's not necessarily the best to be, you
want to be top 2, or after that, it really doesn't matter, to be honest.
I know that's what I think. That's why I'm not that concerned with it, because it's like, I look at it as like, oh, I'm in the middle of the round. Oh, I'm gonna get Odell Beckham and Michael Thomas or something.
Yeah,
great.
Exactly. It's once at top 2, and I mean, that's the thing. I'm like, Chad, how long do you need to?
I know. It's not that hard. You're still going to be first and take David Johnson.
The smartest pick is to be second, because you take either David Johnson or Le'Veon Bell, and then you have an earlier pick than the first guy. Like you're going to take whatever one.
It used to be third until Ezekiel Elliott got 6 games.
Yeah, that sucked.
That was the pick. Now it might be like, 6th, because you're going to get, either or 5th or something, because you're going to get either one of those top 2 guys or one of the big 3 wide receivers. And I would even put Mike Evans right there.
Yep. Yep. Mike Evans will definitely. Yeah. So,
but anyway, it's back to the AFC.
And then even exactly. So, do you have the over-unders on that? I'm curious what.
Yes. And these might need to be updated, but I think they're pretty accurate. But anyway, we'll start at the bottom. Jets 4.5. Under.
Yeah,
those motherfuckers are winning.
Games. You should go put the money on that right now.
Oh, speaking
next time you go to
Mesquite, my buddy we were talking about going to Mesquite.
If you go next time, let me know, and I'll Venmo you some money. I will put money on that,
because we were talking about going down.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So 4.5 for sure.
I'm taking under all day.
That is, I feel like that's the easiest bet. I mean, that's like,
there's a couple that me and my buddy were looking at. We're like, oh, like the Indy line is like 8 all day. Dude, I watched the Lions Colts game. If they have to start what's his face, Tolzien or whatever, they are so screwed. They are so screwed. That guy can't play.
Yeah, they did not have a backup plan at all for Andrew Luck. Which kind of that franchise is they're the luckiest franchise. They really are poorly run, but they've been able to. They just happened to
what's his name? Peyton Manning just happened to have a season-ending injury the year that Andrew Luck comes along and just promotes them to mediocrity.
And they tanked on purpose that year when they knew he was out. Like, let's be honest,
Yeah, I would too.
I mean.
No, but 4.5. I'm taking under all day on that one.
Yep.
Bills 6.
Ooh, before all these trades and everything, I probably would have said over. I don't know if this is pre or post all those trades. I actually thought the Bills were going to take second. I thought they were going to be better than Miami this year. And that was until they decided to try the Cleveland method and just trade for assets, and
they got tons of assets though. Good for them.
Yeah, exactly. The Jets fan base, like I love watching when all those things were happening. All the Jets were like, the Jets fans were more mad about it than anyone else because
They're gonna have 2 second, or they're gonna have 2 first, 2 second, and 2 thirds
two
next
firsts.
year.
Yep.
That's amazing. Like that can change your franchise like fundamentally. If you have a decent draft in that year, you're set, man. So
yeah, exactly. So as a Bills fan, I mean, it's you're not going to have that much this season, but you got to be happy about the way your front office, instead of just trying to take second against New England and maybe squeak into the playoffs at 9-7 at best. You'd almost rather than just take this route, take the year, get as many assets as you can for a year, go through, get some good rookies in there, and try and build that way.
yeah.
But I like Tyrod Taylor, actually. I hope they keep him around. I think he's deserved it. I think he deserves it. I think he's a very underrated quarterback. And they would be a lot worse each of the previous few seasons with almost any of the other backup quarterbacks that are around the league. And so Tyrod, I think he deserves to get paid going forward. But who knows if they'll cut ties and maybe try and go younger and draft someone in the next year. But I like Tyrod. McCoy, I'm a little worried about because from what I've been reading, the new offensive scheme is a zone running scheme and more under center instead of out of the gun.
Is it?
That's what I've been hearing. And so I'm not as bullish on McCoy this year, fantasy-wise as well. Whether that changes, I mean, it doesn't really make sense if you have Tyrod and McCoy that, those are their strengths out of the gun and running some of those zone reads and everything. But yeah, I'm not as, from what I've been reading, McCoy, I'm a little worried about in the new zone running scheme that they're trying to do, and they want to run the ball more. But I'm just a little nervous about that. Defense, they got rid of all their DBs. They let one go to New England, just traded one. Linebackers aren't that great. Defensive line. Yeah, I mean, they've got Marcel Darius, who's a stud. I think he's one of the best defensive tackles in the league, and hasn't gotten as much of his dues recently, I feel like, as he probably should be. I don't think he's that far off from the other great defensive tackles. So outside of that, though, there's not much there. So 6 games. Oof. I'll probably take the under. I don't know if I'd bet on it, but I expect them to be about 5 wins.
6 is good. I mean,
if it was 6.5, I would take the under for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably take the over just because, like, Tyrod, like you're saying, is okay, and I think that defense is good to okay, and so I think when you get to play the Dolphins, you get to play the Jets twice.
That's true.
That's good.
Who else do they play this season? Do you know?
I could look.
What other? Because if they play like the AFC North and they get the Browns, who'll be better but be competitive?
So they play the.
I think they play the AFC West, to be honest, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because I know New England plays Oakland in Mexico City, which I think would be a sweet game to go to.
They play the AFC West and the NFC South.
Ooh, those are pretty tough.
Yeah, those are rough. But you play Miami. You play, obviously in division. So New York, Carolina, Denver, Atlanta, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, Oakland, Jets, New Orleans, Chargers, Chiefs, Pats, Indy, Miami, Pats, Miami.
I'm more confident now saying I feel better about the under.
They're beating the Jets twice.
6 wins.
They might be able to beat Indy depending on, where things are with them. They might be able to sneak in a win against either one of the NFC West, NFC South teams, probably sneak one of those wins.
Saints or Tampa Bay, maybe.
Split with Miami.
Or
because they played Miami at home in December. Do you think Miami's going to win? As Dame's probably is going to be 5 degrees.
Well, at that point, it's possible that Buffalo is throwing in the towel and trying,
Maybe.
say Tyrod gets injured or something.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Miami has, if Buffalo at that point just tries younger guys, giving them more time, just kind of basically tanking to get a higher draft pick.
Yeah, maybe.
Next is so I would say
you take the under.
Yeah. I if it was 6.5, I would bet the under. Like I would feel very confident.
6 wins.
That they are going to be a 5 or 6 win team.
Yeah.
6, I think, is a good line for them. I wouldn't necessarily bet it because I could see them. I think 6 wins is very possible for them. And so I would push it. But I think 5 wins is where I'd put them at, 5 to 6.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Tyrod, he had quite a few fantasy points. But do you know how many yards he threw for last season?
Only like 3,000 or something like that. 3,200.
Really low. I mean, I could see.
But he ran for 500.
Yeah, he ran for 500. But you're like, do you want that though? Like, I mean, even if you add that in, he's still under a lot of other.
If he gets a couple rushing touchdowns, but the thing is, he's being drafted in like the 13th, 14th round.
Yeah, he's definitely decent fantasy value, but I don't know if it's, I would just hope he throws for 3,500 yards. But I don't know if Watson's gone and Matthews apparently.
Watson's been injured. Yeah,
but
that's true.
Watson, they lost Woods, they lost what's his name? Like who have been their wide receivers? That guy who was a sprinter.
Matthews got.
Like I don't know who's even catching the balls.
Charles Clay is their tight end.
Anquan Bolden.
Oh yeah, they picked up Bolden.
Yeah, and he's good in the red zone. Zay Jones, the rookie. Great. Rod Streeter. Oh yeah, great.
Yeah. So
someone named Desmond Lewis. Yes, wonderful. So, I mean, Bolden, he's not going to get you yards. He's too fat. He's basically a tight end.
That lines up in the slot. Yeah.
No, he really is basically like what they call an F tight end now.
Yeah. Like he runs good routes. He knows the soft spots and zones.
He's just as good a blocker as most receiving tight ends, I would say.
Yeah.
He breaks tackles. He's great hands. Like, I don't know why they don't even just list him as a tight end because he doesn't play outside,
Yeah.
And he was great for Detroit last year, but I mean, he might have some interesting fantasy value just in, who else is going to catch touchdowns for them, But as far as where the yards are coming from, I don't know. Charles Clay.
Yeah, I have him on my tight end list.
Logan Thomas is in tight end, who used to be a quarterback.
He's playing tight end now? That's funny.
Yeah, and I mean, if Matthews was healthy, I would, he'd be an interesting guy, but he's not. But Dolphins 7.5.
Over.
Yep,
I'm gonna take the over.
I mean, what's interesting about them is they do have offensive weapons. We mentioned
their offensive line's not bad either. They've got a decent offensive
line, and they got what's his face? Their
Pouncey.
Like they got offensive line. I think it'll be interesting to see if Parker can step up.
Well, and then they've also got Parker and Julius Thomas if he can stay healthy as well at tight end. He could be a red zone target for Cutler. They've got some interest, and then they've got a good running back, J.J. So they've got some pieces. And
I was going to ask you, what do you think J.J. He kind of just came onto nowhere and exploded for
he had a couple big games.
5 games basically. He was really good.
I think he'll be a solid running back. I don't think he'll. I mean, who else do they have on that team? He's going to get the carries. He's going to be on the field. And so that's my thing. I think he'll get 1,000 yards. I think he'll be kind of like a Latavius Murray for the Raiders last year. That's his. He'll probably be just over 1,000 yards. Maybe.
Yeah, but would you want to invest either a late first or your first pick in the second round on that?
Second round, I think, is a pretty good option. Depends on the league.
Would you rather have J.J. or Leonard Fournette?
I would probably take Ajayi.
Really? Gurley.
I think It's close. I mean, rookie running backs are so hit and miss, and I feel like he's at least already proven it. The Jaguars' offensive line, I know they've added a few people here and there, but Blake Bortles, terrible quarterback.
But there's all these guys who I think Fournette has higher upside than Ajayi.
Ajayi, what was his receptions last year, though? Oh, I definitely agree. I think Fournette, his upside is up there, but Fournette was also, he's already got a foot injury the last few days. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah, I think that's almost like he twisted his ankle or something, and they're like, screw it, we don't even want you out here. We know you're good. We know what you can do. Why even?
Yeah. I think Ajayi is the safer bet. With that being said, Fournette, he's definitely going to be. He could be a home run. He could be, just like the next, rookie running back to go for 1,500 yards. At the same time, I could see him.
Because Fournette, I think, I don't know if you watched him in college. That guy is a man, and that guy, just physically, and they're going. He is going to get the run.
I'm just at the same time, Trent Richardson had even probably more hype coming out of college than
he had one good year,
Fournette. Yeah, well, and you look back, he got a hit a good year because of his use.
Did not have nearly the athleticism. I remember watching Richardson, and I was so confused because he was so slow, and I was like, "What is going on here? Why can't these?"
I don't. Richardson's 40 time might have been faster than.
But I remember him. Remember that juke he did with the Mississippi State guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, he just slipped, and oh my gosh, he's so athletic, and I'm like, he's like
I thought he was
when you
legit.
have a balloon and it's this air is sucking out of a window. It's like he's a balloon, doesn't know how to get outside, and he just kind of bumbles around. That was Trent Richardson.
Yeah,
he
definitely busted.
Yeah, but I don't to compare Leonard Fournette to Trent Richardson. I think is just ridiculous. Fournette is a beast of a man. And I don't think they're going to have about the same receptions. Not very many, 20 to 30.
Is that what Ajayi? Was that what Ajayi was last year? I couldn't remember. I know they had Kenyon Drake, I think, as their third down back. I don't think
27 receptions for 150 yards, no touchdowns.
So not a lot. He's not going to be that.
You're not judging, but I mean,
he's going to be the red zone guy. He's going to get a lot of carries. He's got. So I don't know. That's I'm a little more skeptical unless they have a really good offensive line to draft a rookie running back that high. So I mean, Ezekiel out last year was a special case because how often does a top 5 pick get drafted into arguably the best offensive line in football?
Yeah.
And so I'm a little more skeptical on that. Ajayi has proven it at least 1 year. I do think he's probably a little overhyped, but I think he's a safe pick. I don't see him getting less than 1,000 yards this season unless he gets hurt. There's a lot of with rookies. I just don't know exactly how it's going to work out with Fournette.
Yeah,
Fournette definitely, like you said, he has more upside. Sure. And I think they're close, but I would just, if I had one pick in the second round and both were available, I'd probably take Ajayi.
Interesting. We talked about Julius Thomas. He has right now end of the 13th round ADP.
Yep, he's actually I was planning on talking to him about being my sleeper pick because
Tannehill for some reason hated tight ends, but I think Cutler most of his years had to. His tight ends always did decent. I mean, you look at
Bennett for a few years. Zach Miller was relevant with him. So yeah. But
you're probably not oh great, I'm going to be able to start him every year. But I mean, at that time in the draft, you're just trying to fill slots, And if you're just planning on streaming, he might be a good option, to start out with. Yeah, with some upside. So
exactly, I like Julius Thomas. His thing has always been staying healthy. But if you're getting him 13th round or later, and you're going the streaming option, that's a pretty solid upside. Yeah.
Kickers are going in the 13th round, so.
Well, Chad usually takes Gostkowski about the 10th or 11th. So.
No, was it Gostkowski or Hauschka?
Oh, it's always Gostkowski. He always takes the New England kicker. Always.
The 7th round or some shit.
Yeah, always early. And he is the best kicker. You know, he gets the most points. It's Chad's strategy. At least I have.
But it's like marginally more than anybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all about the same.
Right, so
I don't know.
What was we didn't get New England's over under. And I didn't hear what did you think Miami's over under that one?
7.5.
Someone's got to win games in that division.
I know. This division sucks, though. New England's so lucky. Oh, I hate it. Division's so terrible. I mean, they play the NFC South like we talked about.
Yeah.
I'm taking under. They'll beat the Jets twice, but that's about it.
Jets, and you have the Bills maybe splitting between.
They split the Bills, yeah. You know, but that's what, they get 4 more wins out of that. 5 more wins. Like, I mean, they're gonna have to get 5 more wins out of Tampa Bay. Okay, the Chargers, they could beat the Chargers. New Orleans, Tennessee, Atlanta, Baltimore, Oakland, Carolina, New England, Denver, New England, Kansas City. Are they beating 5 of those teams?
I'm saying they're going to get over. I think they'll beat the Bills. I think they can beat the Bills twice. So that's 4 games. So then I need 4 more. I say they can get 4 games. I think they'll get 8 and 8.
Baltimore maybe, and
Baltimore, San Diego. So that's 2. Somehow they'll sneak in 1 against either
one of the AFC West and one of the NFC South.
Yeah.
That's assuming they're sweeping Buffalo.
Yeah, and we'll exactly. Assuming they'll sweep Buffalo.
More I talk about it, I like the under. Pats.
I wouldn't take that bet. Let's be real on that one. Pats 12.5.
12.5.
Over.
I'm pretty comfortable with the over on this.
Yeah, I'm almost as comfortable.
Patriots.
I'm almost as more comfortable. Are you more comfortable with them being over that, or the Jets being below the 4.5?
You can pencil in the Pats for 13 or 14 wins this season, I think.
But did you hear this? So would you, if you could only place one bet, and you had to either bet the Jets were under,
4?
Yeah, the Jets under or the Pats over? That's pretty close.
Jets
I feel like
under.
that's pretty.
Jets under. Jets are not winning 5 games.
Yeah, I was thinking that same thing.
How would they do it? They're not going to do it. They're terrible. They're terrible right now, and then wait until they have a couple injuries, and they're even more terrible.
There's no way the Jets can win more than 5 games. That's just, or more than, they won't win 5 games.
No.
New England, they can lose if Tom Brady gets hurt, Garoppolo comes in. They'll probably still win 12 games. That's their only way. They're gonna get 12 wins. But there is a chance if Tom Brady gets hurt that they'll be under the 12.5. But they'll still be number 1 in the division. You know what I mean? Like it'll be close even with Garoppolo. They could still be over that. It'd probably be about a 50-50 that they'd be over the 12.5 even with Garoppolo. With Brady, if he plays the full season, no chance. 13, 14. I mean, this team, it's scary to say it, and I don't want to jinx them or anything, but this might be
undefeated.
There's no one in the entire that they're favored every single game.
Yeah, but they're playing a lot of good teams, though. You want me to run through their schedule?
Go ahead. I mean, I've in Kansas City or in New England.
New England.
But I'm saying,
but it's like, okay, you're playing at New Orleans, home to Houston, home to Carolina, at Tampa, New York, Atlanta, Super Bowl rematch.
At Atlanta?
It's at home.
In Atlanta?
It's at
home. You're not winning in Foxborough.
At Denver, at Oakland. That might be a loss.
Well, at Oakland's in Mexico City, so it's kind of an away.
That's even more of a loss. That's even more of a home game than regular Oakland. Miami, Buffalo, Miami, at Pittsburgh, end of the season, at Buffalo, New York.
I think honestly the only game,
but you can pencil that they're winning, they're losing 3 of those games, 4 of those games.
At Pittsburgh's the only game I would say that I would be worried that I would say the Patriots probably won't win.
You don't think they're going to lose 1 game to the NFC South?
I'm saying that they could, but like just looking at that schedule, like if you just go one by one.
Well, they're favored.
And then the other thing, if it was in Atlanta, I would say Atlanta would probably win. But the fact that it's in New England, I'm giving it to New England. Same thing with Kansas City. If it was in Kansas City, I'd probably say Kansas City has a really good chance because they're one of the most underrated home field advantages. But since it's in New England, so everything you just listed off made me think even more that every one of those games the Pats should win. Oakland, that'll be an interesting one. The elevation, both teams are basically they're used to playing at sea level, and that's like 7,000 feet above sea level. So I don't really have that being a home game for Oakland. I think that one's just kind of a toss-up, even though the fans will primarily be Raiders fans. So, I mean, all those games, the other to get tough. I mean, at New Orleans, New Orleans could throw up some numbers and make it just a gunslinging game. Maybe they pull out a win. But all the other games, I don't see them losing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I obviously said I'm sure that I would bet the over, and I might. Hopefully, that line moves down a little bit, but because I might be going to Mesquite here in a minute to actually do some bets. But yeah, I mean, I take the over, but they're not going undefeated. That's crazy. But I mean, they're really good. But yeah, like did Tom Brady? How many games did he lose last year when he started?
He lost one game at Seattle, and it was on. They had 4 chances at the goal line to win it, and they didn't put it in. Yeah, and that was the only game Tom Brady lost last year at Seattle.
They're not playing the Lions, so they might go undefeated. That'd be there.
Oh my gosh!
They played the Lions preseason go 3rd week, so that's like a regular season game. I mean, as far as from a fantasy perspective, I think Gronk is, I think, such a weird fantasy thing because he's so much better than anyone else at his position. Because usually, like with running backs, for example, there's kind of like the big guys, and then there's a definite second tier, and then but the distance isn't severe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Whereas he's so much better than any other tight end. He can make a difference in your lineup because if you can slot Rob Gronkowski in a tight end, it feels amazing. And he's healthy. Oh, you feel like you're going to win every week. If I'm serious, because I've felt this before. If Gronkowski is healthy going into the week, I feel like I'm going to win every week because he's just such an advantage. From a points perspective, able to get points out of that slot, so to speak. Because you can find guys at wide receiver, you can find guys at running back and at flex positions, but it's hard to squeeze as many points out of that slot. And if you can slot in 18 points, it's beautiful. And if he scores like 25 points, you're just, oh man, this guy's screwed. You're done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for a few years when Jimmy Graham was with New Orleans, there was that 1-2. Both those guys were pretty even. But since he's gone to Seattle, he's definitely taken a back seat.
Yeah. There's even Julius Thomas was good, but it was a definite next tier. But now it's like those guys are even gone, and now you have to go like who's the third tight end?
So there's Jordan Reed.
Okay. What's his ADP?
He's a 3rd or 4th round, I think.
5th round.
What is he?
5th.
Oh yeah, that's pretty big. I thought he was 4th.
But according to the Fantasy Football Calculator, the next one is Kelsey in the 4th round.
Yeah. Well, Kelsey, and then the Greg Olsen. I think Greg Olsen's going to take a step. He's been slowly getting worse each year. If you look at the last 3 years. Yeah,
but tight ends.
I mean, he's still a solid tight end. Don't get me wrong, but he's not.
You're not blasting a 5th rounder on him. At least I'm not. Someone will, but I'm not.
Yeah, the gap is getting wider between Gronk and him. Is what I was getting at.
I think I'm not blowing any strategy because I think you, I, and Grant all think the same way. If I can't get Gronk in like the 2nd or 3rd round, I'm not drafting any of these tight ends because I'd rather have my spaces filled up, instead of doing Greg Olsen in the 5th round, I'd rather have Doug Martin or LeGarrette Blount, or Jarvis Landry or Golden Tate or Edelman or you know, Willie Snead, or, you know, these guys are the 6th, 7th round even. You know, I'd rather have any of these guys than, you know, than the current values. Obviously, you know, if these guys fall a certain amount, we're willing to take them. But typically, I'm looking otherwise, and it's interesting. It's such a weird position, tight end.
So I'm curious, how do you rank? Let's go over rankings of some of the positions. So QB, I think probably pretty easy. Brady 1, Tyrod 2, Cutler 3, whoever the Jets line up there at 4.
Yeah.
Then running back, do you have McCoy 1, or do you have?
Yeah, I saw McCoy 1. Oh yeah, for sure, McCoy 1. McCoy. I mean, I never. I think have I? I don't think I've owned him in any of our leagues, but I owned him last year in a different league, and he's a weird guy to own because you think anytime he gets tackled, you're just like worried that he's going to get injured, and you're just like, there goes my season, you know. But then does get injured and he goes off like one play, but then he comes back and scores like an 80-yard touchdown. You're like, this is the best guy in the world. But no, he is really good. Like from just a player's perspective, he is really good.
Well, and now that Gillespie as well is gone, like he's going to get more. You know what I mean? Their backup's even worse than it was last year. He's going to get pass catches as well. So yep, he's number 1. I have Jai 2.
Yeah.
I have. Who do you have? I'm curious between 3 and 4. Who do you have?
I have Gillislee. Okay. I think Gillislee is a good running back.
I like him too. That New England backfield just scares the bejesus out of me, though.
No, for sure. But I would rather take a chance at someone who's going to be who might have good production on a really good team. Like, you're not drafting Gil as like, you know, you're not drafting him. He's going into one of your starter positions. You'd be drafting him.
He's being drafted in what is his ADP? I think he's 3rd or 4th round.
4th round. Ugh.
Yes, you're drafting him as a running back too.
I thought it was like 7th or 8th round.
No, he is. He's
that's rough.
Exactly.
Because then you were sliding him almost definitely into one of those starter positions.
That scares the bejesus out of me. Even though Blount got 18 touchdowns, he's going to be that guy next year. Man, they picked up Burkhead. If Lewis comes back, his first preseason game, Lewis looked amazing.
And they paid what's-his-face? White. They paid White.
Exactly. So that backfield scares the bejesus out of me. So,
but I would still rather take a flyer. I mean, 4th round.
So if you had to choose, if you had to choose, end of the 4th round, take him, or what is Powell's ADP?
Mid-6.
So if you had to choose to draft Powell mid-6, or Gillespie,
I would, because at that point, it's not worth the risk. You know what I'm saying?
On who? On taking
Gil, Gil. But so at that point, I take Powell because I think it's a safer pick. Because at 6th round, you need something that you're like, okay, this guy's gonna get points. Whereas I think Gillislee has a much higher ceiling.
Oh, for sure. I mean, exactly. But that just because of the way New England's running back, and we've seen New England running backs do well. You know, they'll go off for monster games, and then they'll fumble one game, and Bill Belichick will pull them or sit them for the rest of the season. So it will be interesting. Say hi to your girlfriend for me.
Cool.
So yeah, I have Powell. I have Powell as my 3rd fantasy running back, at least based on ADP. I'd take Powell over at where they're being drafted now. Powell is where I would take. I'm a little more scared of. I wouldn't take Gil until if it was 5th round. I think I could pull the trigger on that one, but 4th round is too high for me.
Yeah, I agree. I just think I mean, you know, maybe it's a weird way of looking at it, but I thought I should look at the ADP, but I thought, you know, he'd be one of those guys you could slide in as like one of your first bench spots, and then if he starts producing, you know,
I've already looked at that because I've opened this. I've done a few mock drafts. And
4th round that's too rich for me because I mean it's end of the 1st, so 410, 48.
He could win your league or be a big bust.
Okay, well, interesting. You know who the next person is on ADP? Adrian Peterson. Would you rather have Gill or Adrian Peterson?
Wait, which ADP are you looking at?
Fantasy football calculator.
Oh, I usually use Fantasy Pros 0.5 PPR. Are you doing 0.5 PPR? Or are you doing just standard?
They're
probably doing standard
PPR. I'm just doing standard.
So
I'll do.
Let me tell you what the 0.5 on Fantasy Pros, just so you can compare. Because I think Peterson is falling like 7th or 8th round in 0.5 PPR.
And a full point PPR on Fantasy Football Calculator. Gillisley is a 5th round, so like mid to 5. Peterson's mid 6.
Oh yeah, he's fallen even on Fantasy Pro.
So Gill. Okay, so the next running back after Gill is Abdullah Anderson, CJ Anderson, and then Bilal Powell, Mark Ingram, then Adrian Peterson. Oddly enough.
So yeah, Fantasy Pros now. I know last week when I was doing things, he was 4th round. Now he's fallen to the 6th. So that's actually might be 6th round if I can get him as my 3rd running back. I mean, that's
that's pretty assuming good. You've already taken.
2. Yep. Yeah, that's true. Usually I like to get my 2nd or 3rd running backs to be guys that can get past, that are for sure going to get points.
Yeah.
So we will see. Interesting. That might change my mind on him versus Powell, because Powell is in 0.5 PPR. He's going 56, almost 10 picks higher his ADP on Fantasy Pro than Gill.
Yeah, I have it the other way around him. Yeah, kind of on Fantasy Football Calculator. Interesting.
In PPR?
Full point PPR, yeah.
Oh, this is only half. Yeah, they have they have Powell as being the better back. So interesting. Let's see, wide receiver. Who do you have as your number 1 wide receiver? And how do you, I guess 1 through 5, 4, whatever you have.
I don't even know.
I can list mine out. See if you have. So I have Cooks number 1.
It's all over the place, really, for me.
I have Cooks 1.
Yeah. Watson would have been 1, I think, but he's gone.
Yeah, Watson's had so many injuries. So I have Cooks 1, Landry 2, Edelman 3, Matthews 4 if he can return for that injury, and then Robbie Anderson is 5.
Yeah, that's pretty close to it. Yeah. Brandon Cooks is an interesting thing because I think I don't know how much of a production spike, if any, we're going to get out of him compared to what he did with what's his face with Breeze. You know what I'm saying? Because I think they're going to use him similarly to how he was used in New Orleans. Because he's not going to be the Randy Moss guy getting 20 touchdowns or whatever.
No, but you're not throwing it up to him in triple coverage like you could Randy Moss and just hope he comes down with it.
He's not, and Edelman. It's interesting how they got laid out because he does fit perfectly for what they want to do, though. He doesn't have to run a ton of routes, and he can get the underneath stuff. Edelman can, and so can Gronk.
This team is put together almost perfectly. They've got deep burners. They've got an amazing tight end who can stretch the field, who is pretty much unguardable by a linebacker or safety. They've got the perfect slot wide receiver. They've got a really good running game, smart QB. It's unfair, honestly, that this team is put together the way that they are.
I'm just hoping that Tom Brady just becomes 60 years old and can't play football anymore.
Even if that happens, their backup quarterback, I think, will win 12 games with them. This team is so talented.
I'm hoping that he regresses and they just keep him in, for some reason.
And I think on the chat, I'm curious what your thoughts are. What do you do with the Pats with Jimmy Garoppolo after this season?
I don't know, because it's just because obviously I would have to figure out where Tom Brady is, like how much longer does he plan on playing? If it's 2 years, I try and keep him, but if it's 4 or 5 years, I trade him for value, because you can get a first round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo.
You probably can get a cut. Well, the thing is, you have to
Maybe
franchise him. Yeah, you'd have to franchise him.
Yeah,
because this is last year.
But if you're who sucks,
how can you? I don't think you can trade someone if you franchise them though.
I guess they should have signed him this last year.
Well, he wasn't going to sign an extension because he wants to get starter money.
I know, but no, they should have traded him this last offseason.
I mean, that's the thing is the fact that they didn't trade him to me almost makes me think that the Patriots should consider it. I mean, franchise him this year at Tom Brady after this or whatever. And I mean, this might sound completely crazy to everyone.
Tom Brady.
Trade Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Go Garoppolo your next 10 to 15 years. Trade Tom Brady while he's still got a few years left, and you could probably get a first-round pick for Tom Brady.
Trade him to the
Arizona. Well, I guess Arizona just drafted a first-round QB, but
who did they draft?
They drafted the guy from Texas Tech, right?
No, he went to Kansas City.
Kansas City. Didn't they just? They moved up to get someone, I thought.
They got the linebacker.
No, who did Arizona get in the first round? They traded up.
Hassan Reddick.
Oh, did they trade up for Reddick?
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't. I swear I thought they got a QB, but no, you're probably right. They decided to roll. For some reason, I had in my head that they traded up, but yeah, you're right. It was Kansas City I was thinking of.
Maybe he goes to Jacksonville.
Yeah, well, that would be hilarious. Well, it's good. The New England, they're going to trade him to an NFC team. So you have to go through the NFC teams that he could go to that are going to be in win now mode. Minnesota Vikings. I'm trying to think of any others.
I'm trying to think because like NFC South is stacked with quarterbacks. Yeah, NFC West. I mean, Goff, you can't do that.
But I mean, from a marketing, I mean, going to LA, if they give up on Goff after a year or two, get a few more years of Brady.
It has to be like this year, though, wouldn't it?
Well, I'm saying you can extend it 1 year if you franchise. I'm sure the Patriots could afford because Brady's on a pretty.
He's on like a $14 million contract.
It would be expensive, but I would say
to franchise your backup quarterback, that would be
crazy,
insane.
It would be, but I would
franchise your back because you had to pay him. Was it the rules of the franchise? You had to pay him the average of the top 5 at the position, right?
It'd be like 20 million or something like that. Yeah,
yeah, it would be because at that point, Stafford has signed his big extension. What's his name already signed his.
And then also Kirk Cousins is around there.
Kirk Cousins is going to be huge. So you're talking mid-20s for your backup quarterback. If it is, good for Jimmy Garoppolo because if you can get paid backup or like top 5 quarterback money for sitting on your bench and on your butt and holding a clipboard, good for you because
but yeah, I honestly, the fact that the Patriots, because they're such a smart organization. I mean, and then Tom Brady could go win a Super Bowl somewhere else and you kick yourself. But it just seems like they really think Garoppolo is the real deal. Any other backup quarterbacks they've traded.
It seriously annoys me that he's so good.
Exactly.
Because it's like a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers thing, but worse. Because you already know, because Rodgers, there was a little bit like, oh, I don't know how good he's going to be, whatever. Like Garoppolo, you're like, dang it, this guy's good.
Yep.
I mean, he's not going to be, Brady level, but I mean,
exactly.
You can win with them, for sure.
Yep. So. And that's why if I'm the Patriots, there's not a long history of 40-something-year-old quarterbacks that age well. Tom Brady could be the first to go 45 or whatever, but I'd rather be if I'm the Patriots and you believe Garoppolo is a franchise QB, it's worth it to trade Tom Brady, which is crazy. But I mean, you think?
I mean, it happens. I mean,
Joe Montana,
Brett
Peyton Manning,
what's his name? Didn't Bart Starr play somewhere crazy like in the end of his career? Joe Namath, didn't he do too?
Yeah. So it happens. People forget, but yeah, if I'm the Patriots, that's probably the route I go. I like Garoppolo a lot. That guy seems like the real deal. Yeah. Any sleepers from the division before we finish this off?
Bolden.
I didn't prepare too much for this. Who? Bolden. Oh yeah, Bolden would be good.
14th
I had Julius
round
Thomas.
MVP.
Julius Thomas is one of mine. Charles Clay is a streaming tight end just because they have to throw the ball to someone.
Yeah.
And then let's see. Other than that, the thing is, if you can, I mean, one of those Patriot running backs between White, Lewis, and Burkhead is going to be a solid running back. But you only have a 30% chance that you're getting it right.
When you have Gillisley in there too, they have 4 running backs.
Yeah, but I'm saying one of them's going to be the PPR back.
Yeah, but I think that's mostly between
White and Lewis. Well, Burkhead. I mean, that's what they brought him in, which is crazy. I mean, that was what I was surprised they kept both Lewis and White because they brought in Burkhead, and I thought he was going to compete for that too. So yeah, I would Lewis and White are definitely the odds-on favorite, but Burkhead is a deep sleeper if you're in a huge league.
Yeah, it's
16 team, which interesting. I was listening to because now Elliott's ADP has fallen to mid-second round or mid-third round, right? So in the 20s, I think.
I'm seeing.
From what I had heard, he had fell in the 20s. It was on.
He's still ranked the 15th on Fantasy Football Calculator.
Let me look on Fantasy Pros just to see. Let's see. He is 27 on Fantasy Pro and 0.5 PPR. So let's even say, so early third, which I think is, if you're going to take a risk, he could win your league for you the end of the second half.
That's a risk, but I mean, he could win it for you.
For a guy that's missing 7 weeks, he's not playing. Second round's probably too high for me to 7 weeks have somebody sit on my bench. Third round, I might take a flyer on and hope that I can fill a spot and go 50-50 in those first half. But I was curious. It was interesting. They were talking about a league that was 16 teams. So if you're thinking that would be your second pick, if you're in a league of 16, even 14 teams.
That would be rough. Didn't we do a 16 or 14 team league once?
I don't remember.
It was rough.
But yeah, but 14 teams, and that's your second pick.
Okay.
For a guy that's missing 7 games, that's pretty rough to draft someone that high. Like your second pick, you need them, your first 2 picks to be solid guys. Otherwise, you're losing.
Yeah, if you're doing that, you might be taking. If you're the 16th pick, you're taking Jay Ajayi as your number 1 overall pick, or your number 1 pick for your team.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So
that's rough. But
yeah, it was interesting. They were debating: do you take him in the second round? Do you still take him in the second round with that big of a league? I don't. I just at that point, I'm not.
You're not even making the playoffs. Is a problem in that league.
Yeah, exactly. In that league, you're not playing. It depends. I guess if the playoffs are like 12 of the 16 teams, then maybe I'd take a flyer on it.
10 teams or something, 8 teams.
But it's crazy how he's fallen. I don't know if that's too high or too low for a 12-team league. I have a feeling somebody will take him in the second round of our league.
Probably. Me or you.
Well, it depends on where we're at. I mean, if it's late second, we're not going to be late second though, because the top picks are going to be taken.
Yeah,
I'm not taking him. I'm not taking him top second.
No,
I mean,
probably not.
But if I was end second and so I had an early third pick, yeah, I would consider it. But yeah, if I'm in the second half of the first round, I'm not taking him in the second round.
Good to know.
You go ahead. If you're
I just hope we're not picking next to each other again. I'm gonna be so irritated.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
But
interesting. Well, anything else from the AFC East? I think
no,
pretty straightforward. Yeah, not the most exciting.
Because the only good team is really hateable. So
well, there's a lot of talent on that. The crappy part is all the talent's basically on one team, and so
Dolphins have a couple talented guys, but yeah.
But the thing is,
Landry and Parker aren't going to win your league. If
Cooks was on Buffalo, think about that. Like if you had any one of the Patriots players on Buffalo, their stats would probably go up, I don't know, let's say another 100 or 200 yards because they're going to get more targets and more, you know what I mean? They're just, but because New England has so many weapons, like it hurts them.
Like each of those running backs is going to get like 200 to 300 yards receiving.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just, and if they were, if Lewis or White was on Buffalo and just was the third down PPR back, like I could see him getting 400 or 500 yards, a couple touchdowns, 50 to 80 catches, being a solid PPR back. But on New England, it's just such a log jam.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So, but anyways, next week, next time we'll do NFC East when you get Grant back on here so he can homer about the Eagles. But that actually is an interesting division because I think they're kind of like the NFC South that it's up for grabs. I think any team could win that one.
Win the AFC East?
The NFC East.
Oh, I think you meant the AFC.
No. NFC East. I'm saying that.
Yeah, NFC East. Who knows? Other than the Eagles, not winning it.
Grant's gonna pick them. I mean, it's
well,
almost.
I probably won't be around. So.
Oh yeah, you're leaving next week.
Tomorrow or Friday.
Nice. So I'll just be me and Grant. That sucks. Just kidding. Grant, if you're listening.
No, you do suck, Grant.
All right, man.
Did you see? Okay, yeah, we'll end it.